this time, we'll call this meeting of the Alexander County Board of Commissioners into session. This is the 14th day of September 2020. I'd ask if you would to please rise. I'll ask Commissioner Ronnie Reese for the invocation, and Commissioner Marty Pennell will give the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, and we thank you for the blessings of the day. Pray you guide our thoughts and directions as we continue this meeting tonight. Pray that wise decisions would be made. Thank you for each person that's here. Give us a safe journey back to our homes. We pray for all our emergency services, all our county employees, and even our citizens for safety for them. We thank you for everything that you've done for this county and for each one of us. Pray for these that have lost loved ones, and Lord, for the many things that's going on across our land. Lord, I pray that we'd all come together and unite through you. And all this we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Direct your attention to American flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. At this time, we have a special recognition tonight. Captain Chad Pennell received the 2020 Mission Lifeline EMOTS Gold Plus Award, and also we have a special presentation for him. And at this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Ronnie Reese, who will make the presentation, and ask Captain Pennell, if he would, to come up to the front. And if you'd like to, Captain Pennell, at this time, if you'd like to bring your family with you, that'd be fine also, sir.
Chad, congratulations. Got just a little something here to read, and we're really proud of what you've done. Hate to see you go, but I understand how it is. Chad Pennell came to work for Alexander County Sheriff's Office in March 1993 as a part-time school resource officer at East Junior High School, and became full-time deputy in 1994. Since that time, he's held positions of patrol shift supervisor, detective, detective sergeant, captain of investigations, and patrol captain. You've done just about all of it, you know. In 2002, Chad served on a task force with surrounding counties to combat drugs, and from 2002 to 2010 was cross-sworn with the Federal Bureau of Investigations and United States Marshals. He holds basic, intermediate, and advanced law enforcement certificates, and is trained as Special Response Team Commander, General Instructor, and Firearms Instructor. He's also the recipient of 2 Life-Saving Service Awards, and Chad's assisted in more events than we could count or even list probably on this paper, from security at our commissioner meetings, thank you for that, meetings to festivals, parades, protests, national night out, and the list goes on. Very valuable employee to the county and to keeping all of us safe. And I have a plaque here from county commissioners with a key to the county. And make sure you get that and get ready to go. And the plaque says, the Alexander County Board of Commissioners hereby presents this key to the county upon Chad Pennell in recognition of 27 years of dedicated service to the Alexander County Sheriff's Department, presented September 14th, 2020. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate all what you've done for us. Say a couple words.
Put me on the spot. This has been different for me. Well, thank you. This has been different. When I started thinking about retiring, boy, that was a struggle. And still to this day, it's a struggle. It was the right thing to do, but you leave something that you love and a county that you love and a job you love to do, but then you leave that, like I said, at the office to go home and take care of the family, which I've not got to do as good as I would like to. And Larry, you know what I'm talking about there. It's an honor to be recognized. I really appreciate it, and I thank you for each of you. I've worked with all of you in different aspects of county government, and I appreciate the patience and the ability to work with you and things that we've done. And hopefully it's been a benefit to the county, because that's what we're all here about, and that's what we all try to do. And I do appreciate getting recognized today, and thank you for your time, and wish you all well. And if you ever need anything, I'm still a phone call away. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, Chad, I've got to say something. I can't sit here and be quiet about you. But the last 27 years I've watched, and I've been involved in some things with you and discussed a lot of things with you over the years. And I think you've been an outstanding contribution to Alexander County, the Alexander County Sheriff's Department, and an outstanding role model for the young people in this county. You've carried yourself well. You've been very professional in some extremely strenuous situations, and situations that called for you to hold before you moved, and you've done that. I watched you do it, and I'm proud of the professionalism that you showed from law enforcement and the way you conducted yourself over these years. And if we had folks that continue to set their standard on the way that you've gone through and being in law enforcement with the standard that you've set, with those folks that come behind you, we shouldn't have anything except super great professional law enforcement officers. And I appreciate the job you've done. And I want to say also to your wife and your children, a lot of you don't understand when you're in law enforcement, you leave the house each and every day, and when you leave home, you don't know whether you're coming back or not. You never think about that, though. It just doesn't happen. You don't think about it every day. But in these trying times that we've had, I know that the wife and the kids have been concerned and worried and lay awake at night waiting on you to get home, especially when he's on the SWAT team and got called out. And I want to tell your wife and your children, thank you for allowing your husband and your father for the contributions that he made to this county. An outstanding gentleman, and he couldn't have done that without the outstanding support they got at home from his wife and his children. And you've all helped him be the man that he is today. And thank you all for that.
Thank you.
Chad, I'd like to thank you too. Had an opportunity to work with you in a lot of different ways. And I don't know, I got a lot of people would shaking their boots at some of the things that we've been able to, that we've seen, and thanks to your leadership, we've been able to avoid. But things will be different. But I know that certainly God has a plan for you, and great things are going to happen. And it's great you get to spend this time with your family. But I want you to know that I'll forever be grateful for all the things we had the opportunity to do together, and you'll always be my friend.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Over here, Ronnie, so you can get, you want, where you want?
You have to do it with your eyes. You got to do it with your eyes. Chad, you good, bud? Thank you. So I guess all of you know now, if you're looking at the agenda, you know that I've already made my first mistake tonight. But so I'm going to go into this next one. Another special recognition is the 2020 Mission Lifeline EMS Gold Plus Award. Call on our Emergency Services Director to come forward.
First, I'd like to say thank you for giving us the time. We just wanted to let everyone know, commissioners and everybody else, that Alexander County EMS received the 2020 Lifeline EMS Recognition Award. And this is a Mission Lifeline Award for what they considered ST elevation myocardial infarction, so a heart attack with ST elevation. Real quick, when I first started my career, and there's one in here that's just as old as I am, I'm not going to mention his name, Jeffrey, but there was a time that we did 12 leads, and a doctor came in and taught our class at CVCC for my paramedic instructor, or paramedic class, and he says, okay, here's a 12 lead. It took me 3 semesters to learn something. And then 3 years later, it was, okay, we're going to start doing 12 leads. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to be a paramedic long, because it took him 3 years or 3 semesters to learn this. And in 2 days, we learned how to recognize what they call ST elevation myocardial infarctions. And this recognition, I just want to give it out to my guys here and my employees here. They're the ones on the front line. Heart attack, ST elevation MI, or heart attack, is one of the deadliest heart attacks. With their skills, the training officer, Kevin Richards, doing the training, they're able to recognize those and get these patients to a appropriate facility such as Fry, Catawba, or even Iredell Memorial, and can and have saved multiple lives due to this. And so I just wanted to bring them back here and let them get the recognition that they deserve. They're on the front lines, not I. So we wanted to talk about that. If there's any questions.
Only question I have is, if you would you bring that oldest one up here first and let the rest of them follow him, okay? And let them come up and let's get a group picture of you guys.
And
And
we
ladies,
have,
ladies and gentlemen.
Jeffrey Sigmund, that's shift supervisor, and this is mostly B shift here. Ethan Fox, that's the field training officer. He has been essential in this. Hannah Harrelson, Zachary Kunkel, Daryl Corbin, Kelly Moose, and we're not going to talk about the oldest one. We've got Jerry Rogers here.
Very good.
They're the ones that's doing it every day.
Front line.
Didn't all smile.
Very good.
Thank y'all very much.
The next item on the agenda is Commissioner's Report. Does any commissioner have any reports tonight?
Mr. Chairman, I've got one thing to mention, which you attended a couple of the grand opening ceremonies with me, but had an opportunity on Friday to attend a meeting relating to opportunity zones in Alexander County, specifically in Taylorsville. And opportunity zones are something that President and Tim Scott, are working on to go into areas that are, kind of doesn't have all of the economic things that a lot of places have. And the guy that came was John Holsworth, and he's a strategic real estate investment partner. Myself, Jack Sims, through Carolina Land and Lakes, were involved in hearing what he had to say. And when somebody's coming to Alexander County looking at us, that's a pretty good sign. He does a lot of multifamily structures, manufacturing, getting business opportunities back out. So he had a lot of good information, and actually put some bugs in our ears on, we may need to make some trips to Raleigh or call our contacts in Raleigh. If things start coming back for manufacturing, you need buildings, places to do it. Hickory, Catawba County, Hickory is not an opportunity zone. So by Alexander County having Taylorsville as an opportunity zone and several other sites, there's some money through private development, and it's not stimulus money. This is money that is there and is available by private developers and other industries to do it. So it may be something down the road, but I thought it was interesting to hear what he had to say and talking about the amounts of money, projects he's doing in other places. So, hopefully we can acquire some of those things too. Thanks, sir.
Anyone else? Well, they had a grand open, they had a naming a building this past weekend on Sunday about 3 o'clock. The Alexander County Hospice dedicated a building in honor of Nita Wagner. Commissioner, there's 3 of us that attended that event. And if you don't know Nita Wagner, Nita was the first director of hospice in Alexander County. She was the one that was primarily responsible for getting it off the ground. She worked diligent in trying to make that facility work and did an outstanding job. And for years, she continued to work and make sure that it is what it is today. And Sunday, she had the honor of having that building named in her honor. And it was quite a tribute to her for all the work that she's done and the contributions she's made to this county for years and years that she did this. And also on Saturday, Commissioner Reese and I attended the ribbon cutting for Appalachian Storage. I caught myself on that one, thank you. Appalachian Storage in Bethlehem. It's an inside storage, temperature controlled, very nice facility. It's in the old Ace Hardware building down on 127 South, right before you get to the river up on the left. And grand opening there for them, and so that's another new business in the Bethlehem community that has just opened up, which will make a contribution to Alexander County. And does anybody else have anything else?
You know, just, it's encouraging that, you know, was it Bethlehem Eye Care, was it J&J's Garage? I mean, there's been a lot of ribbon cuttings for new businesses, and, you know, a lot of houses getting built, a lot of houses getting sold, a lot of economic ticks. Even in a crazy economy that we have, we're getting a lot of positive signs, so that's it's a good thing.
It's moving forward. It's moving forward. Gentlemen, you have your agenda before you. If you would, item number 6, water projects progress update. R.J. Mosley will not be able to be with us tonight. He thought it was a Zoom meeting, so he wasn't able to make it, and that's understandable. So many people are having Zoom meetings. So I would make a motion that we approve the agenda with the exception of item number 6. I'll make that in form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. All opposed likewise. On our agenda tonight, we also have public comments. And this time, I'm going to call on Chris Knowlton that would like to speak on special events policy. Chris?
I would. Take this muffler off. I represent a very large group of people here tonight that you might just say that we're the silent majority that's not going to be silent anymore. I've read the Alexander Special Events Ordinance, and it raised a couple of questions with me. Who owns the courthouse property? That's not a rhetorical question. I need an answer.
Mr. Knowlton, let me explain something to you, sir, the way the public comment session works. We sit here and we listen to everything that you have to say. And in that thing, in the policy procedure that's set out in the public comment section, we don't answer any questions at this time. We'll take everything that you have to say under advisement, and then at due time, we will be glad to get back to you and discuss it with you, sir.
Okay, because the way I understand the Alexander County Special Events Ordinance, we I see that it does not coincide with the First Amendment of the Constitution, specifically the right of the people to peaceably assemble. The way I understand this ordinance is if a group of people get together and they want to go out on the courthouse square and make a speech or something like that, you're saying that we have to get permission to do that. Under the First Amendment of the Constitution, I don't see anywhere in there where it says that we have to get permission. It is a right. It's a God-given right. It's not one that's granted to us by the government. It's guaranteed to us by the government. I hope each and one of you understand that. Under Chapter 3, Section B, it shall be permissible for the review committee to inquire the nature and content of speech to be held. Another violation of the First Amendment. At least ways I see that it can be in the future. That's kind of like getting the camel's nose is in the tent. Next thing I'll be seeing is that the second part of that, it shall be impermissible to deny an application because of the content or purpose of the event. How do we know that that's not the reason you didn't approve the event? Just saying. A special event of 1,000 people or more must have a crowd control manager for every 250 people. Where in the Constitution does it say that? It does not. So the question I want to ask is, if somebody comes up to the courthouse square, maybe 100 or 200 people, and they're on the courthouse square, which, by the way, that's where most people came together and met during the time that the Constitution was written, was on the courthouse square. Do you, as the government, come in and tell us that we have to cease and desist? And then if we don't cease and desist, then what do? Do you have the police come in and arrest us? Well, if your answer is yes to that question, let me tell you, you would be in violation of federal law. Because under Title 18 U.S.C. Section 242, whoever under the color of any law, which is your ordinance, it has the color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include the use, attempted use, or a threatened use of a dangerous weapon, explosives, or fire, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years or for life or both, or may be sentenced to death. Congress was deadly serious about this.
Ms. Nope, we give you 3 minutes, okay, it's what we give you to speak, sir. That's what's in the policy on our public speaking, with all due respect to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Chris.
And I think we have another public speaker that I think Jamie is going to read, our clerk. She will read his comments. It's from Craig McLeod.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Craig McLeod, and I own Ridley Ranch Road and 110 acres, including various building lots along the road. It has been 1 year this month since my wife, Grace, sent the Alexander County Commissioners a letter to include pictures and asking for your help on a number of serious code and ordinance violations. She gave great detail and called out each county violation by number and paragraph. Since that time, I have spoken or had a voice at almost every meeting this year and also visited the zoning office trying to get some much-needed relief. Household garbage and trash, including lots of junk vehicles, miscellaneous tires, building code violations, have continued to exist. I have sent numerous emails throughout the year to you and attended these meetings asking for your help and asked to receive an updated response. On September the 2nd, I also sent an email with pictures of major issues at the Martha Webster property located at the end of the road. There are at least 3 junk vehicles and trucks with household trash piled on the roofs of the vehicles for months. Lots of litter and junk everywhere around the property. That includes a very large rusted-down house trailer frame with junk and trash piles on it for nearly 4 years. The McLeods have owned the adjoining property. There are also a number of unlicensed, untagged, vicious dogs running loose there that won't let my family or prospective land buyers or other property owners exit their vehicle to enter or inspect properties along the road. I have written several emails and sent photos of these issues to no avail. The Frankie Drum property next door still has a very old, junk, broken-down camper trailer at the edge of the road and numerous other debris, junk scattered about the property. Pictures of all of this were also sent to the commissioners and zoning staff. I have personally spent lots of my own money having my attorney send out letters to folks along the road instructing them to keep the 30-foot right-of-way clear of debris and to not park in the road for ingress and egress. The Sheriff's Department has informed me they have been there numerous times for law breaking and trouble. They too could not pass, making their jobs much harder and almost impossible to respond in a timely manner. These are all major safety issues. Now, just to be fair, I did state in my latest email on September 2nd that some improvements have been made this year, but much more remains to be done with at least 3 property owners on Ridley Ranch Road. In short, Ray Charles could ride the road and see all the violations. Good Lord, 12 months have now passed. A whole year and major issues continue to exist that are unsightly, unsafe, and have led to the devaluation of property there, which should be of main concern to this county in general. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That was the only 2 we had, is that correct? That was the only 2 that we had? Thank you, ma'am. Item number 2 on the agenda is a public hearing, proposed refinancing of the existing debt for the Alexander County Law Enforcement and Detention Center building. Bob Jessup, attorney for Sanford Holzhauser Law Group, and also I think Mr. French will be involved in this also. Gentlemen, this is a public hearing, and at this time, I would entertain a motion to call the public hearing into session.
Make a motion to open public hearing for the purpose you just stated.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second. Any discussion? There be none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. Is Bob, I thought I saw him. Just want to make sure. Oh, you recognize Bob, I'm sorry. You know?
Good evening, Mr. Yoder, members of the board. My name is Bob Jessup. I'm a lawyer from our law firm is called Sanford Holzhauser. Our office is in Carborough, and I've had the chance to work for many years as the bond counsel, the special outside lawyer for public finance matters for the county. And I'm here tonight to talk about our new project to refinance the 2010 loan that financed construction of the Law Enforcement Detention Center. We've been working closely with Ms. Herman and Mr. French and the county's financial advisor to put together a proposal, put together a package to refinance that loan, save the county a bit of money. Right now, our step is the statute requires that we solicit public comment and a public hearing about this financing. When that is over, we'll be asking the board to adopt a preliminary resolution in support of the financing and our application to the Local Government Commission. We'll then be coming back in October for final approval of the financing documents, and we plan to have the loan closed by the end of October. I'll be happy to answer any questions about any part of the process, either now or after public comment. And if not, I'll step back and see if we have any members of the public who wish to speak.
Very good. Does any members of the board have any questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments they'd like to make concerning this public hearing on the refinancing of the Alexander County Law Enforcement Center and Jail.
Mr. Chairman, got just one question. I think I already know the answer, but the refinancing, the rate is going to be considerably lower.
We actually received lending proposals just end of last week. It's hard to, everything runs together. And the best proposal, the proposal the county has accepted, will have a rate over the remaining 7.5 years of the term of 1.10, which will bring the total savings to about $145,000. It's practically free money.
Yeah, thank you.
Practically. I like that. Anyone else? Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion, close the public hearing.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. And now, item number 3, resolution supporting an application for the Local Government Commission for its approval of financing agreement 2020 Law Enforcement and Detention Center refinancing. Mr. Bob Jessup, attorney. Mr. Jessup.
Thank you. The action we'd be asking for tonight is to adopt the resolution in the form presented. This is a resolution that states makes a general finding to proceed, authorizes staff to continue the process, and makes certain findings of fact that the LGC staff will be looking for as part of their evaluation of the application. We certainly don't anticipate the local government commission is going to have any issue. This is just part of their application process to tick this box.
Very good. I can read this resolution if y'all like, but I don't see any really reason to. It's just basic resolution. So I entertain a motion to approve the resolution to refinance the 2020 Law Enforcement and Detention Center refinancing program. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the resolution for refinancing the local government or the existing debt for the Law Enforcement Center and Detention Center.
Motion is made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. It's very much appreciate the opportunity to work for you again, and expect to be back in October if you move the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, if you have anywhere else you can save us $145,000, we'll entertain that also.
We are always looking, because we all want, if it's good for you, it's good for me. So, but you got to borrow more to have more refinancing opportunities. So, thank you very much.
Thank
Mr. French?
Mr. Chairman, just want to point out in your packet is information about the existing Alexander County debt, and just want to make sure that you saw that information. Ms. Holman was kind enough to cover that for us. Most of our debt is in water and sewer funds. We have over $14 million, but in the general fund, all we have is the jail, courthouse, which is what we're talking about tonight, and Ellendale School, so.
Very little debt.
That information is in your packet.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. French. Item number 4, Stony Point Elementary School wastewater project update. Mr. Benji Thomas. Mr. Thomas is with West Consultants.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me, and be happy to give you an update on this project. I was here last month, and a lot of work had been done. The map you see here is, if you can see it well, the black lines represent what's been completed. So you can see that a lot of it's almost entirely complete as far as underground work. This is, again, is the project to serve the Stony Point Elementary School with public sewer. They've been on the septic system for all these years. and a failing septic system. Lock Lane Construction out of Stony Point is the contractor, and the contract is for just over $640,000. This is being paid for by a CDBG grant. Their notice to proceed was May 11th. Their deadline for substantial completion, that would be the system's up and running and serving the school, is November 7th of this year. So far, they've put in over 1,650 feet of 4-inch force main. They've completed all the work on the school property other than the final connections. They've installed the gravity sewer line from the SureTape pump station. That's where this sewage would be pumped to. They've run the gravity line from the SureTape pump station up to Highway 90 and under Highway 90 and under the railroad. So that's quite a bit of work that's taken place in the last month. On the new pump station site, they've completed the structures, the valve vault and the wet well, and the screen structure. So remaining to be done would be back on the map. There's just, I think, a little bit of green, thank you very much, kind of lower or mid-left section of the map there. You see a little bit of green. That's what's left to be done. That would take the force main under the sharp curve in Stony Point School Road, and then the short length of force main to connect it back to what they've already installed. Obviously, there'll be a lot of work on the new pump station site, putting in all the equipment. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. You want me to start over?
I think you're good. I got a thumb up back there.
Okay. So a lot of the work remaining to be done is on the new pump station site there at the picnic shelter across from the school. And you can go on those pictures. The top picture there is the grease trap being installed at the near the cafeteria. The picture below that is the new pump station site. There's not much to see there now, but in the future, there'll be a lot of electrical racks and fencing and so forth around that. And we can go to the next slide. That's just a picture of the manhole being installed between Highway 90 and the SureTape pump station. That went through some private property. The Webster family and the Walker family were gracious enough to give the easements for that. So we appreciate them putting up with the mess. And it's all underground now and backfill, but of course, still trying to get the grass established. The next couple of slides are where they installed taps at those two houses. I think the last slide is same thing at the top, and then at the bottom there, that's the ball field at the school. They actually, you can see a manhole in the foreground of the picture, and the line continues straight back through the batting cage, or through the backstop. So that kind of gives you an overview of it, and pleased to say we're on schedule. Might be ahead of schedule, but more than likely be waiting on power connection and so forth to actually fire up the pumps and put them into use. But we're pleased, though obviously it's been a very wet summer, slowed things down a little bit, but I'm pleased with the overall progress, and we should do expect to finish on schedule. So I'd be
Very
happy
good.
to answer any questions.
Though they're looking forward to being turned on,
We all are.
ready for the completion. I think it'll be a tremendous asset to Stony Point Elementary School and the residents there. So I know they've looked forward to this for years, and this is another one of the bucket lists come true in Alexander County.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. We appreciate the report. Item number 5, Bethlehem Sewer Project Update. Mr. Dan Chepeldine, Project Engineer from Chepeldine Engineering. Mr. Chepeldine?
Mr. Yoder, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Commissioners, I certainly appreciate the invitation to come to you and update you on the Bethlehem Sewer Project. Overall, things are going well. It's, of course, been very challenging, but they've made some good progress over the last month. We've met some significant milestones. The information that I've provided to you, just in summary, we've got 2 crews working. Two Brothers Utilities is the contractor. Crew number 1 started down at Wildlife Access area, and they are up past Steel Bridge Loop. Excuse me. They are up past Steel Bridge Loop currently and approaching Highway 127. The crew number 2 has finished Heritage Farm Road. They've mobilized over to Shiloh Church Road north. Since I sent this in, they've actually finished Shiloh Church Road, what we call Shiloh Church Road North, which is over by the Dollar General. And they've mobilized over to the south end of Rink Dam Road and Highway 127 on the west side of Highway 127. So in that process, crew number 2 is bored underneath Highway 127 over at Mount Pisgah, and that went in really well. Significant progress was made, and a milestone was reached. We were able to bore and jack underneath Highway 127 at Shiloh Church Road, and right there like where Evans Drugs was. And you'll see some pictures of that in just a second. The map that I'm showing shows that the bold lines of what's been completed. Up in the upper right is Heritage Farm Road, and down the lower left is, of course, wildlife access up to Highway 127. And then we've got Wood Ring, which is sort of in the middle, and then what I call Shiloh Church North, which is there on the far left. The lighter lines, the less thick lines are the ones that are still proposed and we still have to work on. So from highway down the lower left, we're going to be crossing Highway 127 in the next 30 days and heading up Chigga Ridge Road. If you've been down, you've noticed that they've already cleared a path up the hill behind Evans Drugs. That's where we're going to be going next. They've also bored underneath Chigga Ridge Road, which was a requirement by DOT. When we did the project, it was going to be an open cut. Since then, DOT came in and resurfaced the road. They wouldn't allow us to open cut new pavement, of course. So they had to add that in as a bore and jack. So that's been completed. So again, there'll be crew number 1's down the lower left-hand side on wildlife access, Shiloh, and they'll be crossing 127 the coming month and heading up the hill and continuing up Chigga Ridge to Rink Dam Road. Crew number 2 is at Rink Dam Road on the west side of Highway 127. They should be finishing up the segments there on Rink Dam on both sides of Highway 127. And at that point, they may move on to start doing the force mains. It just depends on how we progress. I also included a weekly progress report in there for summarizing the amount of piping that's put in and a schedule. This was done on, the ones that you had were September 7th, so we did the September 14th report. And basically, they've gotten 35% of the pipe in the ground, and the contract time remaining is 54%. And again, as I mentioned before, they're working in the hardest part and the slowest part of the project and the most complex part of the project. So once we get once we get the Shiloh Church Road done, and particularly up and over the top of Chigga Ridge, everything's going to go a lot quicker, and particularly when they get to the force main, they'll be able to make up some time. But so far, they've laid about 8,600 feet of pipe. So again, they're making some pretty good progress considering the complexity of the project and where they're working. There is a change order that I've included in this, just for your information. We had a progress meeting last week with, and in attendance was Dee Browder from the state, and we had a discussion with her on the change order and how to present the material, the information. She's requesting more backup, particularly labor and equipment, time and costs from the contractor. So once we get that, we'll get the change order finalized and get that submitted to her. If you want to show some of the pictures of the progress, what we're seeing here is the 36-inch casings and the augers for the bore and jack underneath Highway 127. And the bottom picture is you can see the size of the bore pit, the size of the casing, and again, this is a big project, and it requires some big equipment and some big holes in the ground, obviously. So the next picture, what I think is interesting is the top picture. when they were jacking and boring underneath Highway 127, we got about 3/4 of the way, and they did encounter some rock. It really slowed down the progress. They were grinding and moving very slowly. And what you're seeing in that top picture, that used to be a flat plate, and it's a backing plate. And what they do is as they're boring and jacking, they're jacking against that plate. And when they hit the rock, you can see the force that it encountered and how it bent that plate. That's probably a 3/4 inch or 1 inch steel plate. So what they're doing was very difficult. They hit rock and they persisted and continued, and we finally got through it. So we were really excited about that. The bottom picture is another bore. That was the one under Highway 127 at Mount Pisgah. That's an 18-inch pipe for the 8-inch gravity sewer. Again, the one at the top was a 36-inch casing for a 20-inch pipe. Just to give you a scale, the second picture, the next set of pictures, just to give you an idea, that's the top one is again, the bore at Mount Pisgah, just to give you an idea what the bit looks like. And down below is, of course, they're laying pipe up what we call Shiloh Church North. This is, the one at the bottom was compared to where we've been was a piece of cake, honestly. It was a lot easier, a lot shallower, a lot narrower trench, and they were able to use trench boxes to move and progress it relatively quick. And the last picture is the bore and jack underneath Chigga Ridge Road at the top of the hill. And again, that's a 36-inch casing and a 20-inch pipe that's going into the bank and going into underneath Chigga Ridge. And lastly, these are DOT's requiring us to use positive shoring if we're too close to the edge of pavement. And I just want to give you an idea. Again, some of the previous pictures, you saw what trench boxes look like, and they're pretty easy. They set them in as a single unit, and they drag them along. This positive shoring, what these are, they're sticking up out of the ground, are slide rails. And you can see the framing on the bottom of the picture of the slide rails and the bracing. Each one of those has to be driven into the ground, and it has to be driven into the ground below the bottom of the trench. Some of our trenches, as you can see in here, were probably 12 to 15 feet deep. So the amount of effort that they were having to spend to drive these slide rails. And then once they put in the slide rails, then you can see the panels on the bottom. The panels slide down as they excavate the trench. It's time consuming for them to install this positive shoring. It takes about a half a day, and they get one stick of pipe in the ground, and then they have to yank it all out and then move 20 feet down and do it again. So it was extremely time consuming and a lot of effort, and this was down on Shiloh Church Road, which we're coming out of there now, which again gives you an idea of the amount of effort and work that went into to putting this pipe in the ground. Overall, I think everything's going well. Like I said, we're moving out of the most difficult part of the project, and things have gone really well over the last few weeks, and I expect that they will here continuing. So really excited to entertain any questions that you might have.
Ms. Sheldon, I've got a question on the Shiloh Church Road positive shoring. On the engineering plans, would that depth have not shown? And then those requirements been known? The depth of the trench?
Yes, we had plan and profiles on the plans, and it shows the depth of the trenches and depth of manholes.
But that was figured in, correct?
I'm sorry?
That was figured in, the depth?
Yes.
The positive shoring and the requirements from DOT?
Yes, and the positive shoring was a requirement that DOT had in there.
All right.
It's not any additional work or additional charges or anything, but it just gives you an idea of how difficult it is to use the shoring that DOT was requiring and how labor intensive and how it slows down production.
Good report. Looks like making some progress, so that's always good to keep going forward, you know.
You've got that right. Especially after the start of the project. I want to admit we're doing really well now. I'm pleased.
Thank you for the update and the information.
All right, be glad to do it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we like that contingency to be high in our favor.
Item number 7 on the agenda, COVID-19 update. Leanne Whiston, Health and Human Services Director. Billy Walker, Assistant Health Director. Doug Gillespie, Director of Public Service, and Mr. Rick French, County Manager. Ms. Leanne?
Thank you. Can you hear me through this mask, or would you prefer me take it off?
I can hear you.
Doesn't make, you doing good? Okay. All right. Our latest numbers, we have 452 cases. We have gradually continued to uptick, which we expected. We have had confirmed our 4th death. This was not a recent death, but a death that happened several weeks back that we were waiting to get further medical clarification. I know there's been a lot of information out there that says that, you know, everything's being targeted to COVID that can due to funding and this or that, but we've not seen that. We truly have seen our medical community being very follow the rules, and if it meets criteria, then it is calculated. So this one, and I'm trying to be very vague because for privacy and to protect this family, and you know, all our deaths, we grieve for these families, and but this one it was one of those that wasn't really classic. I think there was possibly an autopsy and some testing done to decide exactly what was done. This individual was pretty much at the end of COVID and actually improving, but we've seen other long-term effects from COVID happening to some people. So this was one of those scenarios where there was some further investigation had to happen. So we don't list it until we get state approval and we have all the information. So we do have 4 deaths. We have 3 hospitalized, so that is down. We're really grateful when folks get to come home and are improved. We have 58 still in quarantine. That leaves 387 recovered. If you look at the state dashboard, it is substantially over us. It shows 473 instead of 452. These are tremendous numbers across the state going into these databases for the state. So just for our county, we found 1 individual. All the information was correct, but they were in the state database 3 times. So we have to report that to the state and give them time to get them removed. We had 2 that was listed twice. We also have, during our case investigation, often we'll find out that they're not truly in our county, and so we transfer wherever their residence was. So our numbers are accurate. You know, we have a lot of folks not understanding that discrepancy, and that's understandable, but we do contact them. That's what contact tracing is, find all of their contacts. Just today, we got a referral from Burke County. The individual was from one of their long-term care outbreaks. They had been inadvertently listed as a resident. They were not. They were actually an employee from our county. So that one will show up tomorrow. So things like that keep happening. We have to clarify because, you know, it's people, data entering, so things happen, and sometimes you just have to find the cases and get them to the appropriate county. So that's why there's a discrepancy. With school starting, I know you're probably interested in that. We've only seen a few reports from our kids in college that are actually positive. With school, our school system, we have done really well. We have had cases and we have had employees and students, but we've had no outbreaks. And I think that's huge when you have maybe a teacher, but then none of the classroom children are affected. So obviously, even though we don't love our mask and our social distancing and it's hard for those students, it is making a difference. So I applaud the community and us making our efforts, people wearing their masks, because it's got to be making a difference, or we would see actual cases. What we have seen is household contacts. Often, one person in the household, then when we test all the household, many in that household are positive because they're in close contact. But still, a good 40% asymptomatic. Those are the ones that it's really important to know and find out so that we can quarantine them. Quarantining and people following quarantine slows the spread. So we're still less than 2%. The state's trying to get to our numbers. So We're still testing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. An average is 15 or so folks tested each of those days. We do more tests as needed. We've done Tuesdays and Thursdays when needed, so if anybody feels like they need to be tested, we're certainly there. We do, are still doing drive-through for the individual's safety and my staff safety. So we do appreciate if they'll call and we get all that information across the phone. We have everything ready and it's going really quick. You know, usually folks aren't waiting 5-10 minutes maybe. Can I answer any questions for you? Yes, sir.
You said something that caught my attention, and
Uh-oh.
my math's not gonna be perfect here, but out of 450 cases, we got 4 that are reported multiple times somewhere else. So if you put that on a bigger scale, out of every 1,000 cases in North Carolina, there would be 8. And out of every 10,000 cases, there would be 80. That's a lot of misrepresentation of numbers.
Very
Not
well
on,
could
I mean,
be.
not on.
Yeah, certainly not us. But you've got to remember too, though, you've got lots of people reporting into this database. You've got all medical providers reporting in. Some of that may be because the lab's reporting and the medical provider's reporting. Now, why the computer system doesn't catch that, I have no idea. Probably because the program was never built to handle this kind of volume. You know, several times it's had to be added to for capacity. You know, we never foresaw COVID. We're used to, for Alexander County, you know, 2 cases of this and 5 cases of that, not 452 and thousands for Mecklenburg. So I'm sure that's multiple people reporting into that same system.
But
You're right, yes. I mean, that's.
those numbers up,
It,
so
yes.
could help 2.5.
Yep, we could drop a percentage point maybe. And I'm sure all the other counties are just like us, you know, cleaning that up and reporting it as quick as we can, so. And hopefully tomorrow you'll see those numbers change. And when I told you this, it's probably inaccurate. I mean, truly, we get those reports of positives faxed in day, night, weekend, all the time.
And
Trust me, staff is tired.
I'm not fussing that you're
Oh, I get it.
reporting. I'm just saying that
Oh, I hear you.
we may not see as many as we're seeing less than what we're perceived to see due to natural error, but
Yep.
nonetheless, it's not as bad as it seems.
You're exactly
Bad,
right.
but not as bad.
Yes, and we will take it because I do want to encourage people shortly is going to be flu season, and when people start, hopefully when vaccine is available, we generally don't start vaccinating till toward the end of September, 1st of October, but I highly encourage people to get their flu vaccines this year more than ever. I know, Mr. Yoder, you're good to always get yours, even if it doesn't help you.
If it doesn't help.
But it's going to be a really hard year because do you have fever from strep? Do you have fever from flu? Do you have fever from COVID, or do you have more than one? I hope not. But, you know, hopefully with more people, and normally we have less than 50% of people take their flu vaccine. So the more people can be protected from one of those 3, the better. So,
And I think, Leanne, this year that people need to understand, they probably need to go ahead and make their plans to get them just as soon as they're available to get them, because with the push that they're doing right now, there may not be enough vaccine to go around to everyone that wants a flu shot.
very
And
true.
that's gonna be very interesting because, a lot of people have already gotten them, and some of them are saying, you know, if you get it early, then you have to go back and get another one, and so, you know.
that's a whole, another interesting topic, isn't it?
Another interesting
You know,
topic.
used to be you got about 6 months out of your vaccine. Now they're saying longer, but that depends on your immune system. So for some folks that have a lower immune system, I don't think you probably get a year for sure. But I do think you should go sooner. I normally am a wait till Thanksgiving vaccine person for me personally, just for my health issues. Because I really am healthy and don't have issues, no chronic diseases, but I'm gonna do mine early. I will be a 1st of October for that very reason. Just go ahead and, I think it boosts your immune system too, so we can all use some of that, so. And I know people are getting tired of staying quarantined and, at home, those that are high risk staying at home. I know it's getting really hard, depressing and, isolating, but, at this point, there's nothing really, I mean, we are still seeing numbers and we're still seeing cases and we don't want any more deaths. So we appreciate people following and protecting themselves and their families.
So do you think we've flattened the curve to
I
speak a
do.
little
We,
bit?
we put out on our website is a situational report, and I did not put it up here or bring it because it really does change every, minute by minute. We do it about once a week just because it's so tedious. But if you want to go to our website or our Facebook page, it's really great because it shows you zip codes, where cases are zip code wise. It'll show you asymptomatic cases. We were, as I said, about 40% asymptomatic still. And we did see a little bit of an increase in the 0 to 18-year-olds when school started and college, but not great, 12.6%. And most of those are very mild cases, if not asymptomatic. But if you want to go to this, you can really see, because one of the graphs is that graph itself, and it is down to, we actually now, this was the latest one, I'd hardly look. Today has been busy. The phone ringing off the hook with lots of industries, businesses, camps and things just needing help to make sure they're doing everything they need to be doing. But actually, we're down to right at our May numbers. So it's went straight up and it's way down the other side. So we are very pleased, and we hope to keep that trend. We want it to continue.
That sounds good.
So it has done really well, yes.
And you mentioned businesses, so there's been no outbreaks like Craftmaster?
We
anywhere?
really, I mean, we've seen some situations, but they have been very proactive with us to send folks home as a precaution. They may have one person test positive, and anybody in contact will go home until we can test them. So we really have not had outbreaks per se. We've not had clusters. We've not had clusters in our schools. We have had cases, but they've been very contained. I can tell you, we talked to the school, Billy Walker particularly. She was on vacation last week, so that was fun. I know what she's really doing after covering from last week, and I'm glad she's back now. And we're glad to do it. But, you know, you think, I talked to the school nurse supervisor, and she's like, you know, just when I think I've gotten them all down pat, something different comes up. And they're all very individual, case by case. We really have to staff it and figure out, okay, what letters, because I don't want to send a letter home to parents every time somebody in that classroom maybe is suspected. Because by the time you get a third letter, you're not going to even read it. So we are sending those letters home when you need to know. If your child has come in contact, we will notify you. The school will let you know. But now, just because there's a case in the school doesn't mean we're going to send letters home to every single parent. Because there's no risk at that point. So we evaluate every single case and notify those parents of students when there's a potential.
What's now considered exposure?
Exposure is still that within 6 feet for an extended period of time, 15 minutes or more. Mask really does make a difference. This is fine because we've got 6 feet. And we are seeing that makes a big difference. They're also thinking that the asymptomatic people are not as contagious. I'm not sure if they're not as contagious or they're not coughing and sneezing at you, because they're not sick. They're not coughing. They're not sneezing. So they're not transmitting so much virus through droplets and respiratory secretions. So, but as long as we're wearing that mask, we have seen it make a difference. When we're contact tracing and finding out, okay, who have you been within 6 feet for 15 minutes? Did you have on your mask or not? So that's exposure, is household contacts way up there. We want to test everybody that's a household contact because they have a huge risk of being positive. Many, many are. And then it goes down to 15 minutes for extended period of time within 6 feet. And most of the time when we're talking to folks, because we have tested lots that maybe just were in the room, they were like this, maybe 10 feet apart, but they were here for an hour or two. Very, very seldom are they coming back positive. So we are definitely seeing it's that close distance and not wearing your mask. Sometimes we don't know. Some people are like, I have no idea. I don't know of anybody that had it that I came in contact with. So then that, we say community spread. It could have been, you know, anywhere. Grocery shopping, church, you know, so anywhere you're at, you need to keep your distance. Outside helps. If you're outside, it makes a big difference. There's better airflow. That help.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Becoming
Smiling.
COVID experts. Miss Walker is our COVID expert. I go and say, do you concur? Because we really do, you know. Every situation is different, and you cannot, the state doesn't give us examples of every single issue. There's just so many scenarios out there. But the school system should be commended. The teachers have done a remarkable job. The students are doing great. Students are putting on their masks, they've adapted really well. And I know it's hard.
It is.
I'm living it.
It is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else in that committee have anything they want to add? If they do, please come forward.
I just wanted to add a couple things towards the EMS part and the emergency management part. We are seeing that we have had some employees that have had contact with spouses, family members, and then they would have to be excused from work for multiple days and stuff. So we're seeing a big, not really a big, but a small spread on that where we're having to work our part-time employees. As for emergency management, we're doing pretty good. PPEs and stuff is still really good in our situation. The only thing I think we're still having a hard time getting is gowns, and they're just getting outrageous. I looked to get some reusable gowns yesterday or today, and they were going to be about $70 a piece. Yeah, and these are washable, but we are working on finding other locations that we can get those and stuff.
What makes that gown so special?
It's a 6 mil thickness, and it's more of a plastic and not a regular type of gown, but it can be used for isolation. So pretty much you can bleach it, throw water on it, we can throw the UVC light on it and stuff like that, instead of just one use and throw it away. Any questions for your EMS or emergency management?
I have one. The employees that are exposed, is there a certain period of time that they're being quarantined off from work?
Yeah, me and
then-
Miss Wisnett actually sat down the other day, and we've had some time to talk, and a lot of it depends on how long, if it was they're COVID positive, or if they were asymptomatic, or if they were just in a household. And we decided to follow the CDC recommendations, and I think it's 10 days. And I'm using 10 days after testing because a lot of the CDC says 10 days after symptoms start. Or if you're still symptomatic after 10 days, it's 48 hours after symptoms resolve without medication. So we're using 10 days, and I think and I can't remember, and I think Billy can help me on this one, 14 days or 10 or 14 days for anybody that's been in the home with somebody that's COVID.
Second part of that question is, are you doing the rapid test on the employees, or?
We cannot force the employee to get tested. They can get tested on their own if they want, but we are just looking at and using, they're pretty good to say, hey, one called me 2 weeks ago and says, my daughter was getting ready to go to college and she got tested just because the doctor wanted to, and she tested positive. She's been asymptomatic the whole time, so he was out for a period of time, and he actually went and got tested himself on his own, and it come back negative. So
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the committee like to speak? Okay, all right. Item number 8, resolution authorizing grant to Alexander County Fire Departments and Alexander Rescue Squad for Corner for the COVID-19 response. Mr. Rick French, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have a resolution included in your packets to provide the 8 volunteer fire departments and the Alexander Rescue Squad $2,000 apiece for COVID response. Those funds will be provided to all those departments. And encloses your resolution that follows up on that.
Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing grant to Alexander County Fire Departments and Alexander County Rescue Squad for coronavirus COVID-19 response.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made second. Any discussion?
Just one question. The rescue squad and EMS are considered one entity in this?
Yes. Not the county EMS.
Okay. I got you. I'm with you now.
Any other questions? All right. At this time, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, motion carries. Very good, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, since I have several items after your report,
Mhm.
and since I'm so mobile nowadays, I think I could just stand right here.
If you don't mind,
That's
sir, you
I
can.
don't mind.
I'll let you even do my report if you'd like, sir. This suit me just fine.
That's
Okay. Item number 9, the Historic Preservation Committee Design Standards. Vice Chairman Larry Yoder. Gentlemen, basically what that amounts to is the fact that we had already passed a Historic Preservation Committee Design Review Guidelines. And when we did that, it was called guidelines. And so now the design review is actually standards. And we have to redo this thing to approve it the way it's been rewritten so that it'll meet the standards of the state of North Carolina and the National Register of Historic Places that takes care of administering these things and looks after them. And also the thing that it will do, it will include Taylorsville, the town of Taylorsville, because when Alexander County does it, we do that, we have to include the town, and we'll be asking the town to join us in that. And so that's why we need to do these Historic Preservation Committee Design Review Standards and just approve it as is. The biggest thing in here is that you'll see is pursuant to the Part 4 of Article 9 of Chapter 16 of 160D at the North Carolina General Statutes after we establish this thing. So I would recommend that we make this change. I can't say enough good things about this historical committee. They've done an outstanding job. There's 4 ladies and 3 men on that committee, and they have done an outstanding job in gathering information on areas in Alexander County. And we had a meeting. I should have said something about it earlier. We had a meeting the other night that was just absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to tell everything and all the details about the place because there are things there that are irreplaceable. And it was very exciting to sit in that meeting and listen to them talk about this place. And for years and years and years, I knew it was there. And I knew what they had done, but I had no idea all the historical material and the building and all that stuff is there at this time. It's just, this last meeting we had was probably, as far as I'm concerned, the most exciting meeting that I had with the historical committee about venues in Alexander County. And these folks are doing an outstanding job, and it's a very diverse group. And I would appreciate you folks approving this design review standards, as they say now, not guidelines. It's the standard that's set by the state of North Carolina. And I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the Historic Preservation Committee Design Review Standard.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed likewise? Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 10 is the 2020-21 Planning Service Contract between Alexander County and the town of Taylorsville. And gentlemen, if you'll notice, it's a planning and zoning assistance service contract between the town of Taylorsville and Alexander County. And it's under that North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 160D-502. And it says allows any local government to enter into and carry out contacts with any other city, county, or regional council, planning agency, or private consultant in which it agrees to furnish technical assistance to the other local government or planning agency. Any local government may enter into and carry out contracts with any other city, county, or regional council or planning agency which it agrees to pay the other local government for technical planning assistance. And it allows local governments to establish or designate a joint preservation commission. And basically what this does here is on this contract here is the fact that it would be a thing where the historical committee would be able to take care and represent the town of Taylorsville so that it includes the entire county and the municipality of Taylorsville to be able to do this. There would be no cost to the town, and this would be a win-win situation because our first National Historical Preservation area, of course, is in downtown Taylorsville at this time, and it's right in behind the old motel. And this will be something that will be dealt with between the county and the city to help the historical committee to be better off. And I understand they're probably going to take this up. Well, I know they said they were going to take this up at their next meeting. And our Connie Kincaid spoke with David Odom and presented all this information to him so that he'd have all this available last week. So I'd recommend that we approve this planning and zoning assistance service contract that will cost the town of Taylorsville nothing. So
The town is aware that, are they good with?
well, let me put it this way. They are aware of it. It has not gone before their council for them to approve it. There's things that are going on with the state of North Carolina and trying to get us totally established so that we can be certified. And we're trying to get this thing passed so we can go ahead and get everything rolling so that this historical committee can be certified by the state of North Carolina. We have to have so many meetings so that we'll be able to do that and have so much information we have to give them. Connie Kincaid has done an outstanding job of getting this information together, and other members of the board. Two of them have done online training through Zoom, and we've had 2 or 3 of them that have done a tremendous amount of background investigation on different historical sites in the county. And we've actually had communities and citizens actually have already come to us, talking to us about wanting to be a part of this historical thing for their facility. So it's moving, and things are happening, and it's getting very exciting. And the leadership that we have, I can't say enough good things about it. I'm excited because we tried to do this several years ago, and it didn't work. And this was just, I mean, Connie's just outstanding, and this is just really, it's just a win-win. It's really, really good.
All right, thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to approve this.
Make a motion that we approve the 2021 Planning Services contract between the county and the town of Taylorsville as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second. Is there any discussion? There be none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. French, now that you've got to stretch your knee, item number 11, sir. Reschedule October the 5th, 2020 Commissioners meeting to October 12th, 2020. Mr. French, County Manager.
We'd like to recommend that we reschedule the meeting from the 5th to October the 12th. One of the main reasons where we should find out about the Cardiff grant for downtown for the courthouse park, and we want to get that moving as soon as we can. So we'd recommend rescheduling the meeting in October.
Gentlemen, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve the change of commissioners meeting to October 12th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made, second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 12, board appointments and reappointments. Mr. French, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 3 appointments to the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Appoint Douglas Bowman, the Chief of Police, John Miller with DOT, and Linda Clements, our DSS Director. And there's also a resolution that would appoint a review officer, which would give us 2 review officers. And we want to have that so that we can do a better job with the public. And that would appoint Bill Rogers as a review officer. And those are the recommendations for appointments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. French.
Thank you.
As you've heard the recommendation to request the appointment of review officer, you'll find that in your packet there. Resolution requesting the Alexander County Board of Commissioners to appoint a review officer for Alexander County. I entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve appointments and resolution as stated.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion is made, second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. And I think what I did on that, I didn't say board appointments and reappointments. I think we need to probably make a motion on the local emergency planning committee to include that. I didn't include it. I only asked for the motion on just one item on that, 12B. I should have asked for a motion for all of it, but the local emergency planning committee, I request a motion to approve that, please. The
Make a
appointment.
motion that we approve along with the others, the LEPC recommendations.
You have a second?
Second.
Motion is made, second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Budget ordinance amendments number 8 through 16, Mr. French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Budget amendment number 8 is to carry forward a portion of the CARES Act EMS grant received in April 2020 to be spent in the 2021 budget year. Due to revised grant guidance, the CARES Act EMS grant funds will not be used to replace lost revenue. All of the funds will be used for eligible expenses to prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus. Number 9, Number 9 is to increase health department budget for additional WIC state funds received for the first quarter and for maternal health innovation state funds. That's number 9. Number 10 is increase the health department primary care budget for 25,000 state funds originally budgeted for as behavioral health revenue, moved to primary care program revenue. And 2, contract to receive an additional 25,000 state funds over what was originally budgeted for the primary care program, and to increase the health department behavioral health budget for Duke Endowment private grant funds carried forward from prior years. That must be used to establish an integrated behavioral health program. Duke Endowment grant funding of $175,000 is being spent over 3 years, fiscal year 19, 20, and 21. And the GlaxoSmithKline $1,000 award to be used in behavioral health. Number 11 is to increase health department budget for prior year Medicaid funds required to be carried forward to fiscal year 21 for the care management of high-risk pregnancy program. 12 is to increase the health department budget for federal grant funds, epidemiology and laboratory capacity enhancing detection activities related to COVID. 13 is to increase the Sheriff's Office budget for federal grant funds to reimburse expenses related to combating human trafficking and child exploitation.
Number 14 is to budget for payments for the county general fund to each of the 8 volunteer fire departments and Alexander County Alexander Rescue Squad and EMS to assist the expenses related to COVID. Each agency will receive $2,000, as we discussed earlier. 15 is to increase general fund departmental budgets for estimates of COVID-related expenses for extra cleaning, PPE, hand sanitizer dispensers, and other potential needs. The fiscal year 21 original budget did not include estimates for COVID expenses. Moving right along. Number 16 is to adjust the multi-year grant project budget, receipt of second round of CRF money, the 25% share of CRF funds to be allocated for eligible expenses of municipalities within a county per SL 2020-80. And number 3, adjusted estimates of expense reimbursements to be claimed based on revisions of CRF guidance. Multiple revisions and interpretations have been issued since the program began, and that's been a lot of fun. Not really. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions on budget amendments. Sorry there were so many.
Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments, number 8 through 16.
Make a motion to approve budget ordinance amendments 8 through 16 as given.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
We have received all of our money, or was there a percentage or something I think we talked about that we're gonna hold some money, but we've received the money that's been allotted to the county. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. French. Number 14, county sales tax revenue for 2019-20 budget year. Final report for the budget year. Mr. French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have the final numbers for sales tax revenue for the 2019-2020 budget year. We've received $5,404,908. We budgeted $5,155,000, which is a little, of course, that's a little bit more, which helps. Compared to last year, that's a 10.87% increase. New sales tax, it's almost identical. We collected $1,629,150. We budgeted $1,629,000 even. From the same time last year, we were 6.97% ahead. So that's our sales tax report. And so we finally have collected all of our sales tax for last fiscal year. So now we'll start really looking, stay in tune for it.
And that was through June 30th, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers are for July and August.
Yeah, July will be,
Especially with people with it starting to open back up. It's gonna be interesting to see which way the curve goes on that. To see what,
right,
Very good. That's good news.
it is. And
Other business, county manager?
just a couple of things to mention. One is, we need to ask you to approve an interlocal agreement between the county, the Alexander County and Taylorsville for management of funds from the Coronavirus Relief Fund, established by the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act. And it's quite a lengthy, you don't have it in your packet, but it's quite a lengthy resolution. This is taken right off the template that is provided for us. And we'd like to ask you for your consideration of this tonight. And if if you were going to ask a question, I think the question you might ask might be, how much, right?
Yeah.
Give me a second. County's allocation is $1,587,828, and the town's is $396,957. Those are the numbers. And there's a ton of requirements with those funds, and they have
It's
to.
all prescribed exactly.
It is, yes, sir.
There's no way to do anything other than what it says.
That's correct, yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second. Is there any discussion? There be none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. Mr. French?
And just one other thing to mention, tonight, at your, I've placed some information for the final numbers for the 2020 budget year. It's the final before the audit. And then you also have the 2021 budget year through August. So that's just information you can look at your leisure. If you have any questions, please call. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, except eventually we'll get to closed session. I have a few things for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we have the consent agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
We have a second. Second. Motion is made and second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. And at this time, we will adjourn from the Alexander County Board of Commissioners meeting to go into the Board of County Commissioners Consolidated Human Services Board meeting. And I'd like to call that meeting into order. And at this time, I would like to call on Leanne to welcome everyone.
Thank you again. And we knew you were going to have a lengthy meeting, so we've tried to keep it concise. First up is, I don't have anybody for public comment. Jamie has nobody for public comment. And before we get straight into the presentation, I have one additional good information or exciting information. We had partnered with the CVCC to pursue a grant for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina Foundation to expand our dental health program into the schools. We were awarded that last week, we found out. This is actually a this is the preliminary planning grant. I was hunting a word, and that's a good thing I brought my papers, right? It's a $65,000, so you'll see more. You know, the good part about a lot of those budget amendments was extra money coming in to help public health, so we're very appreciative. Here's another $65,000 for us to plan with Catawba Valley Community College. It is a dual partnership to use their dental students to come into our schools and assist, so it's helping our students. Our public health dentistry program will supervise those students. They'll get their clinical experience, and our children gets the benefit from that. Parents get benefits of not having to get off from work, and it's a silent project that we are working on planning. So the Blue Cross Foundation gives us through April to work on planning. If our planning is successful and they feel like it's sustainable for the future, past the next 2 years, they would fund us 2 more years to get that up and running and sustainable. We feel like it's very sustainable. The grant funds would pay for those uninsured and underinsured students. We would bill Medicaid for those that were eligible and insurance. We would not be supplanting their dentist. If they had dental providers, we would refer them to their dentist. But we know all medical providers and dental providers, every discipline in the medical field is short-staffed in Alexander County. So we feel like, we know there's over 25 students in all ages that get no dental care and no regular routine care. So those are the ones we're targeting to go to them so that they can access care. So I'll bring back to you more information, and you'll see the budget revision on this one next meeting, I'll bet. We have a Friday training to talk about this new grant. So without further ado, though, I will turn you over to Assistant Health Director Billy Walker for your annual communicable disease update. And she won't talk about COVID unless you ask questions.
Good evening. I get the pleasure of presenting the communicable disease review. Due to being accredited, we have to do a annual update. So if you'll go to the next slide, this is just, and you can't see what I can see, so go to the next slide. The first slide was just a graph of all of our communicable diseases for 2019. So a breakdown for that is COVID was new this year, so of course it was high. Those numbers were higher than what we are used to. So that was 32% of our communicable disease. Hepatitis C, the chronic a part of that, was 21%. And this was due, we think, to some of the free clinics doing those testing that they were doing testing, so people were going and being tested more, so we found more of those. We had 4% Salmonella, 1% Campylobacter, and 1% the Cryptosporosis, and then 1% E. coli. We did have 2 COVID deaths in that year. The STDs, 24% was chlamydia, 14% gonorrhea, 1% is non-gonococcal urethritis, and we say NGU for that. There was a significant decline in the chlamydia and the gonorrhea rates for us, and that was a good thing. And we attributed that to education during screening, and we also go to the high school twice a year, and we do education there as well. Vaccine preventable diseases, we had 1 pertussis case, 1 Haemophilus influenza case, and 1 influenza death. The pertussis case, we followed the proper protocol, and no other cases were found from that. I'm going to do a 5-year comparison. If you'll go to the next slide. These are a bunch of numbers, but it shows from 2015 to 2019. And if you'll go to the last slide, it'll talk about, it'll give you a summary of that. So for 2015 to 2019 communicable disease comparison, gastrointestinal diseases were, of course, the most frequent, occurring all 5 years. E. coli was present in the last 2 years. Salmonella seems to be a continual decline since 2015. We had a flattening in 2017 through 2019, and then a large drop last year. We had Legionnaire's disease seen once in the last 5 years. If you go to the sexually transmitted disease comparison side, STDs, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and NGU, just like the state, those are what's more prevalent. But we are different than the state, as we are seeing a large decline in those. And our actions and follow-up, we're going to continue doing the education in the high school classes and during our screening visits at the health department. Any questions?
I have one.
Okay,
On the 5-year comparison, was that chart, that's just for Alexander County, correct?
correct.
What is the 21% for the hepatitis in 1 year? From
It
out of
was
nowhere?
the free testing clinics that they're pushing for people to be tested. So more people were getting tested, so then we saw an increase in numbers.
Gotcha.
What's the Campylobacter?
It's a gastrointestinal disease. Makes you really sick.
stomach bug,
Yes.
bad one.
Bad one. Mhm.
Bad one.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our social services report will be given by Linda Clemens.
Good evening. I'm going to take my mask off. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to kind of cover the highlights for the 2019-20 year for Department of Social Services. Spend some time on comparing the services we did provide this year compared to the previous year and the impact of COVID on some of those services. So as you're all aware, we started off the year with our consolidation and the new leadership with Leanne. Leanne really was a great impact coming in, knowing our staff, initiating some QI teams to focus on building improvements and more customer focus. She also was an active worker for us in getting news out to the community about some donations we could use and where needs were. And I'm going to talk about where some of that money went in a minute. So this, yes, does show the new reorganization. And at that point, I was vacant, I guess. So my name goes on that slide there as the Assistant Director for DSS. Next slide. I've pretty much talked, yeah, this one here. Yeah, I pretty much covered that. This picture here does show one of the donations that we did get to DSS services. This is from United Way, and the funding from that was $750 went toward our adult services program and meal delivery. So I've covered most of that. Can you go to the next slide, please? These pictures here show our updated lobby. We've got a nice fresh layout now. It's newly painted, looks much more inviting. We've replaced the front doors. They're now automated, which has been great for COVID. We didn't have to touch anything coming in and out. The second picture shows the front of the building. Sorry, back the slide, which, going the wrong way, sorry. Back there. I wanted to make sure everyone realized we put a drop box in earlier this year, just again to increase customer service for clients. So if they needed to give us information on off hours, we were able to meet those needs. Now, the next slide. Another area where we had great improvements at DSS, we have our new laundry room, shower facilities, and our visitation rooms. This laundry room and shower has been put to use. We had some girls come in with a significant lice infestation, and we had to go through that, treat them in the office before they were placed. So all of these facilities got used. We also used the laundry room just to support our visitation facilities to make sure everything stays clean between visits. These new visitation rooms have been greatly appreciated by our clients. They've commented on how much they enjoy when they're going to be there with their kids. They can have everything they need to maintain that relationship. I did want to take a minute to thank Leanne, Billy Walker, and Renee, who did an awful lot and gave extra time on these improvements to DSS, and I think just want to make sure I recognized that effort. Any questions about that part so far? Because I'm now going to move more into service reports on the services during the year. Okay. Next slide. I've grouped a discussion of the services into our main focus areas of our mission. So first, I'm going to be talking about services provided to support well-being of clients, then the self-sufficiency, and then I'll move into our mandated services to protect our vulnerable citizens. And I will show both past year and previous year, just to give a feel for how the volume has changed. So the first programs under well-being is first our Medicaid. It's really two different primary programs, one for adults and one for family and children, but this captures our total eligible participants. It really didn't increase as much this year as we anticipated it might for COVID, but this represents it's still maintained at right about 20% of our citizens are eligible and get our Medicaid services for their, to maintain their medical and mental health and other dental needs that they require. During this last year, the main impact to the program from COVID was, starting in March, citizens weren't required to come in and provide eligibility information. The state, through the federal government, got waivers so we could automatically recertify if they were eligible for services, and it was continued for another 6 to 12 months. Another thing that was decided was the $600 pandemic unemployment benefits that a citizen might have received were non-countable in determining eligibility, so they were still able to maintain that even if they got that benefit. Medicaid transportation, you can see, is one of our services that greatly decreased at the end of the year with COVID, with a lot of our providers closing their office. The need for transportation for appointments went down. We are now seeing that pick back up this year. Next slide, the food and nutrition services. Again here, we didn't have a large increase in the volume of cases. What you will see is June of 2020, we had a large increase in the amount that went out. That's because the state and federal government decided to give the full allotment of food stamps to every household, even if they didn't qualify for the full allotment. So a number of households saw up to a 40% increase in the food and nutrition services they were awarded, as these are income eligibility based.
It said give the full award even if it's not.
So
eligible?
based on their income, they're eligible in a certain payment for food stamps. During this COVID period, even if they weren't there's a maximum amount a household member can get, but that gets reduced if their income goes up. During this COVID period, they just ignored that income and just said everyone gets the full possible allotment per household during this time. So they were given extra funding to help them through this period of time. Does that help?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Very clear.
my
Thank you.
Yes. It took me a minute to understand also. Just in the beginning of this year, just for your information, during the months of August and September, every household was given $40 a month in addition to what they already received for fruits and vegetables at Food Lion. And similar to the Medicaid program, the recertification for cases that came up for reviews were automatically applied. An additional benefit that's not counted here, because this was a partnership between the State Department of Public Instruction and DHHS, is I don't know if you realize that, but all children that qualified for free and reduced lunch program also got an additional EBT card during the period when school was closed at the end of the year. So those children that weren't dependent on getting food at school were also mailed an additional EBT card to cover those meals that they didn't get at school when it closed. So that's not captured in this funding here. Next slide. Adult assistance. This is an area where we really bumped up the services. This is both congregate meals and home-delivered meals. Our clientele is pretty steady as far as home-delivered meals. It did go up on the congregate, but we greatly, as you can see in June 2020, increased the volume of meals to these recipients. CARES Act and through the block grant, we were given a significant increase in funding, and we spent every penny to deliver, and the congregate sites clients still picked up, but they didn't eat inside, so they came and picked their meals up. But we home delivered the other meals. It went up about 40%. The next slide, we have a picture of some of those great staff and volunteers. The group picture on the right is our staff, and the other pictures are some of our volunteers. I think there's like 6 or 7 there, and we had as many as 18 volunteers work this last month to help deliver these meals for our citizens. The next slide, the additional last area I'm going to talk about for well-being is our other services for adult assistance. And this includes in-home services, our guardianship program when the court deems someone incompetent and they have no one else to fill that role of guardianship. So we get that privilege. payee cases. Home improvements, where we assisted about 20 adults in the last year to make home improvements to their home. There's placement assistance and also financial assistance for a rest home supplement for 70 individuals. Most of these are pretty much standard of services that we provide every year. So this is some pictures I have here. The first one on the right, I should say, the second one, the one on the right is a home improvement where we put a ramp in. The one on the left, I just wanted to kind of give a little shout out to all of our economic services staff. This was a training pre-COVID, but that has continued through COVID, but with masks, as all these waivers and changes to programs have gone in place.
Quick question.
Yep.
On the home improvement, who goes and puts those ramps up?
We work with, what happens is we have one of our staff go out to the home, assess how much we're able to help them with, but we work with a community member who contracts and puts those ramps in for us. And so I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I don't have details on who's actually done this work. I just know it's someone. We don't do it at DSS, the actual implementation.
That was what I was referring to.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? All right, the next program is I wanted to start into where we support self-sufficiency of citizens. We have Work First. Work First has a couple different components to it. One of them is our cases of child-only cases. These are primarily grandparents, but sometimes other relatives raising children. And we send payment to help support the cost of those children that they are raising. And then we have one-time payments, benefit, it's a diversion payment, so if they have an unplanned bill or something coming up, it's to help them maintain so they don't get behind. So these are people that are employed, have a crisis come up, need a one-time payment to not get behind in their overall payments. So in general, it's $200, all of these payments together, and this is an area that went up in the last year, about 30%. We also have crisis intervention, our SIP program. This is for people that they must have a health-related emergency, and usually a disconnect notice that, for instance, without power, they're on oxygen. So this program will help those citizens. The one change related to COVID this year was that we are, as of the last couple of months, able to accept a past due notice, where before it had to be a actual last-minute disconnect notice. So we don't need to wait till the last minute at this point. I also wanted to let everyone know, this is a little off subject a touch, but LEAP, which is our low-income energy assistance program, this December, normally in December, citizens 16 above and disabled people can start to apply, and then in January of the next year, the rest of the population can apply for assistance with energy bills. This particular year, December coming up, any applicants that were approved last year, that, this is again 60 and older and disabled, if they have an active food nutrition case, their energy allotment will be automatically approved. They will not have to come in and apply. So the state's going to run a report based on the numbers at the state level. Expect over 90% of the people that normally would apply for that, of that population, to be automatically applied. So it should greatly reduce us having to handle a lot of new applications this December. So we'll hopefully have some news going out to let the citizens know about that, so they don't have to come in and worry about reapplying. The last area of self-sufficiency I'm just talking about is the daycare subsidies and child support services. Daycare subsidies, the amount paid typically went down a little bit, but the number of children served went up about 20% this year. Another benefit that's not in some of these, in this number here per family, is during COVID, starting around March, parents were not required to pay their parent fee. So again, this is an income-based program, so not all people would qualify for a full payment of child care subsidy. They'd have a certain parent fee they'd have to pay. But during the COVID period, the state has paid the full cost for these families of the cost of daycare subsidy, and also made payments based on February enrollment so that daycares could continue in operation during this time when a lot of centers had to close. The child support services has been quite consistent from last year to this year, and that's really speaks to their hard work because court was closed from March to July, so they didn't have the opportunity to open new cases, so this is all the work they were able to do and to maintain collection throughout last year. Okay, now I'll move into the area of protection of our citizens. So we have CPS and APS. With CPS, we typically have new reports come about 50 families per month that we go out and assess whether or not neglect, abuse, or dependency has occurred. This is one area that COVID impacted. Our reports went down by about 40%. New reports, however, are in-home services where we serve families that are found to need assistance with risk, but the children can stay in the home. That stayed at around 25 families per month. And then foster care stayed steady at around 50 family children that were in the custody of Wake County Human Services. Again, the court being closed somewhat impacted that, and we weren't able to maybe move forward in permanency for children. But it also meant we had less reports, and we essentially didn't have cases closed or open through most of the COVID time frame. The next slide, we show some work in this area. That's kind of what supports our child welfare. We've got the foster home licensing. You can see we've got a billboard up on Route 16. Hopefully to increase our recruitment of foster or adoptive parents. We just had our last class start up the end of August, and we completed a class in spring. Also wanted to just point out that we had 6 children adopted in the last fiscal year, and this shows a couple of those cases at their hearing, where they got their final decree. It's a wonderful thing. So our last area on the next slide is the protection of older and disabled adults. Again, we had an average of 6 cases, down from 8.5, so also down about 40%. And during COVID, as far as newer cases coming in that needed their needs assessed, our average of serving 7 adults per month to maintain their living, and then the also monitoring of 3 adult care homes for compliance stayed steady from last year. This one, I'm not going to go into this at all, but it's just to kind of demonstrate that we have a lot of help making sure that we're in compliance with all the requirements. We have a number of audits ongoing in all of our programs, Medicaid and CPS being one of our higher risk areas. That's annual. Some of the others are not every year. In addition, we have some of our internal programs. We do internal reviews of cases, but we also have program integrity. We have safety programs. HR is currently coming in once a month and doing some training with our supervisory staff to make sure we're in compliance there. And we're working hard to get everything up to speed in finance with our new finance officer. So that kind of brings us to the last thing that we do as an agency is we advocate for those in need. We have a lot of partnerships in the county with law enforcement, schools. This is an area I also wanted to recognize. Christy Hunt from the Senior Center has been a great help at DSS when the center was closed, so she's come over and done some work with us. She's not on the agenda today, but I just wanted to say they do have a virtual health fair on Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we're partnering with them. And so this time with her working with us has really helped us partner together to make sure our adult services and what they do at the Senior Center is more collaborative. So that's been a good thing through this COVID. And that just brings me to summary, to just kind of point out that we really believe that we have been successful in supporting the community, helping improve the health and needs of our clients and our citizens of Alexander County. Most of the money that we do give to these clients is spent locally, so it is also a boost to the economy. And we have made sure that we are complying with all federal, state, and county laws. When we help protect children and citizens, it's a fine balance between ensuring the civil rights of the parents are still met, along with making sure the children are safe. So that is essentially my report. I wanted to also thank the county. I think through COVID, there's been some really great support of our staff, making sure that they were taken care of if they had a family member sick, and really appreciate that. I think it's people have appreciated that and want to say thank you for that. Any questions? Talk fast, I think.
Good report. Continue the good work.
Okay, thank you. We are
Thank you.
honored to be doing it, so,
Good job, thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
At that time, we will adjourn the Board of County Commissioners Consolidated Human Services and Board meeting. And at this time, we'll go back into the County Commissioners meeting. And at this time, I will say that we need to go into closed session. Under General Statute, where is it? Oh, closed session, of North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A, paragraph 5 and 6, contractual and personnel. We will re-adjourn for the purpose of adjournment only. No action will be taken. I make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Those opposed likewise, the motion carries. Thank you very much.